So I'm going to let her get going.
Okay, please, everybody, bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for loving us, for getting us here safely. We ask that you please fill our hearts and our minds with your Holy Spirit and give us the character of Jesus Christ so that we can love each other as brothers and sisters and to love our enemies too. We ask that you will use each and every one of us that are here in this building and those who are watching on TV, wherever they are, at any time, that you will use every one of us for your glory and your purpose. Father, you see the oppression and the tyranny and the lies and the deception that we've been under for so long. We see you using David and Bonnie and other warriors to lift the veils of deception. We're asking that you continue to rip off the veils so that all truth is exposed and that all those who oppress your people, your children, that they are brought to justice and they are exposed. We're begging you for justice. Father, save us. We know that this battle is between darkness and evil, and we're asking you to fight this for us. Use us as you see fit. Give us the courage to be brave and bold and to be righteous. Convict us of our sins that we will repent and be holy and live holy lives to be a reflection of the great power that you have, that you can change us. We thank you for everything you've done for us. We ask that you please comfort Bonnie in the place that she's in right now. Give her hope and vision of a bright future. Give her power to resist temptation, to rebel, and to make her situation worse. Father, we ask that you give her favor with the guards and with the inmates in there, that a wall of protection is around her. Surround her with your holy angels. Fight for her and protect her. Change the hearts of anybody that would want to do her harm. Father, we ask that you please set her free. And we ask that you set everybody who is unlawfully and wrongfully incarcerated, who have lost their children, their families, their homes, we ask that you please set them free and restore all that they've lost. Please bring the children home, the children that have been wrongfully kidnapped from their families. We ask that you please reunite them, protect them wherever they are, and the ones that hurt them, we ask that you please punish them. If they will not repent, please remove them from this world so they can't hurt anyone else. And we ask that you come soon, Lord. We really want to see you face to face and worship you face to face. So please come soon in this sin. And thank you for hearing our prayers. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Katie. Marcella is going to talk to you a little bit about 7K and what she does.
Hi, can you guys hear me? So I'm Marcella, and sorry, David, you brought me up yesterday. I was in the middle of like 4 different things. So I do enjoy talking about 7K medals, but I was in the back doing the Regenu. And may I just say that David blessed me with actually having one of those Regenu machines for about a month now. And that's the machine that Buzz and Michelle and Dr. Olga, who's here actually today, they're doing in this back corner. And I am so blown away by what that machine has already done for me. I have a weakened immune system. I've been targeted for a long time based on kind of my work with David and human trafficking for the last few years. And I have not been sick since I've been using that machine. It literally is so specific. It identified almost everything that was wrong in my body. And it actually even corrects things that there aren't even supposedly cures for. So if you have an opportunity to get back there and check that out, we are very, very blessed to have that technology here. So I do a lot for David. I have a really incredible story that really is a God story, but because of the direction of my current case, I still don't have access to my 3 children. The military is involved. It's a very high-level kind of situation, so I'm not currently at liberty to tell my story, but I will just say that David and I are super close because at a time when no one really believed what was happening to me, when I couldn't get help for my little children, David, I literally, and I'm a developer by nature. If I don't have the answer, I I get it. I find it. And no one would help me save my little girls. And somehow, 2019, I was blessed to get David Straight to come to my home. And that man has saved me personally on a couple different occasions. So that's why we're super close, and I've been just kind of working in the movement with doing what I can to kind of help. So I do a lot for David. I write PMAs, so if you're a business owner, almost any business can be taken out of the corrupt corporate construct and brought into the private, where you're tax exempt and you're also protected from any state, local, federal overreach ordinances, all of that. It's also one of the steps if you're going to be going before the probate judge that you want to show that you're living free as a king in all areas of your life. So you really want to show that, hey, you also are earning a living in the private. So I can help you do that. And then also we're taking on the land patents as well. I have a team of researchers that will do the whole chain of custody, chain of title for you. That one is more of a partnership though, because there are sometimes, depending on where you live, where we need you to go down to the county and record something, but we will give you specific instructions on how to do so and help you get that accomplished as well. And then the other thing that we do, so I do 7K Metals. You've probably heard us talk about it a lot on Telegram. We are partnering on, because I do so much for David, with one of the largest teams in the company, because we have kind of the opposite problem. So I apologize of what other teams have, where we have more people that want to join 7K Metals because it aligns with what David Straight and Bobby Lawrence teach. Then we do team to kind of call everyone back. So I apologize if you did fill out a request for more information on davidstraightsilver.com and you haven't yet been able to join our team. We are ramping up with a top team in the company to help get you guys enrolled. So the reason we love 7K Metals, a couple things, is that yes, it's an annual membership, and then you have access to all the member benefits. One of the benefits that we love is that you get dealer direct pricing on gold and silver bullion with no minimums and no maximums. So the average everyday person can literally purchase 1 ounce of silver at a time, and you can get it for the same competitive price as if you were purchasing it in bulk. And then you don't have to worry, is this pure silver? It comes from a reputable company. Everything's inspected and in stock before it's even placed on the product store. And yes, you get to choose if you want the metals sent directly to your home. They would come via FedEx. 7K Metals is FedEx's actual #1 customer. But some people that have a lot of money would prefer to have their metals stored in a vault that's insured and audited. So what used to be insured by Lloyd's of London, but we actually outgrew them as well. So it's insured by a very reputable company called Excel. Now the game-changing member benefit, the reason why we have so many people that want to join 7K when they understand it, is that we as the Righteous Patriots are actually at war with, as David talks about, the Bar Association and the banking establishments, because they are connected. Well, these guys, 7K, they have a proprietary company that they started called the Sound Money Wallet. And the largest purchaser of precious metals on earth is JM Bullion. They keep trying to purchase the Sound Money Wallet from 7K Metals because they can't figure out how they're doing it. But literally with your membership, you get access to the Sound Money Wallet where you can take 5 fiat dollars and fractionally back it by gold and silver. Now, can you buy gold and silver for $5 right now? You can't. But you can do so in your wallet. And you can actually instantly convert anything that you've converted to gold or silver back to cash. There is currently a debit card that's connected with 7K that you just can order with your membership that's backed by your cash balance. But just know anything that is left in cash is still tied to that fiat system. So it's only protected once you convert it in your wallet to gold or silver. But they are in the process of launching a new debit card that is 100% backed by gold and silver. There's going to be new features when that card is launched, like direct deposit and things like that. So once that card is launched, most of us are planning to actually leave our banks entirely and just operate 100% with Sound Money, with gold and silver. So yes, it feels a little bit in the beginning. So what most people are doing currently, because they do have the Sound Money Wallet currently, is they're getting their membership. They're linking their bank account to their Sound Money Wallet, transferring their fiat into their Sound Money Wallet, and most of our teams converted it to silver. Like David will tell you, there's more secrets about silver that are out there than gold, so that is the better investment. But you're not worried at that point of over-investing in precious metals, because if something were to arise where you needed to transact, you could instantly convert it back to cash. A couple other things that they do, if you have a retirement account, it's the same way we invest in real estate. 7K Metals has to partner with a third-party trust company. And they interviewed, out of 132 they chose New Directions to partner with. So if a retirement account can be rolled over, an IRA almost always can be, but sometimes the 401ks can be a little bit trickier. But if it can be done, New Directions will get it done for you. So that's just included in your membership. Obviously, when you're rolling something over, you're not able to take those metals home with you. That's how you're able to avoid the tax hit. And again, this is a company. Do they know everything that David Straight knows? No, they don't. But there's so they still pay taxes and things like that. But there's enough here for us to partner because it's what David and Bobby teach. So. The other thing that I don't always talk about, but it's a huge benefit, it's actually benefited my life as well, is I've been self-employed for my whole life, and it's been always, we have obviously a lot of corruption with Big Pharma, with the healthcare system, but these guys, 7K Metals, actually sought out the sovereign nations of Indians to do a special agreement. There were special terms that they could do on their land for healthcare. So I know most of us in the room are pretty holistic, we're aware of the corruption of Big Pharma, but I still feel like there's a need for backup health care, especially if you can choose your own doctor, which you can with this. It's PPO, everybody that I've compared pricing with, it's about a third of the price of what they're paying for HMO Kaiser Healthcare, but this is PPO. There's 4 different plans. You can vet the healthcare on your own, but just by going to 7khealth.com. There's brochures and 4 different plans that you can do that. But that's included in either of your membership levels with 7K. So check that out. I personally am on the Mesa plan. It's been very beneficial to have. A couple other things. Okay, so they're also so you have access on the store. Some people are confused by that. So there's dealer direct pricing, which nobody in the company makes commissions on, right? So that's how you're able to buy the bullion and get it always for a very competitive price. Like this is just a random 10-ounce bar that I purchased. But when you go to enroll, it's optional to do one of the 4 collections, which are called the auto savers. But a lot of people are really missing out on this opportunity because their marketing model, it's not multi-level marketing, but it's kind of similar. I have no background in any of that. But it's every new member, it's called member direct marketing. So every time somebody on David or Bobby at their seminars, when our team enrolls a new member, we have to enroll them underneath another member. So as long as you're doing one of the 4 autosaver collections, you get points every time we do that. So for a lot of people on our team, the points bank, and then this coin starts to pay for itself. And then it's really helped a lot of people, especially the ones that were in early. We have some people making $2,000 a month just because they joined David Straight's team when we first launched this. So you can even earn passive income above that. Now, can you take this and make this a whole business? I mean, a lot of people have lost jobs and things trying to fight the corruption. So yes, you absolutely can. Nobody's expecting you to do that though, so don't feel turned off by that. Really, it's the membership that aligns with what we teach, which is why we're bringing it out there. So, but David, at first David and I weren't really into the collectible numismatic coins. So these are the graded MS69 or MS70 perfect coins. But now David kind of gets on me, as busy as I am. He's like, why didn't you get that coin drop? I wanted this one or that one, because he's seeing the value on them. And they make it really easy for you to track because they also created a platform company called Stack and Sell, where you can, these coins come, and I don't know if you can't really see it up here, but it's a clear collectible case with the barcode on it. They even created a company that you can actually, it's kind of like an eBay for collectibles. So it's real easy for you to even see kind of how much things are appreciating for. Our favorite collection, which you'll see, is the Silver State Animal at $139 a month. And David's in the process of getting all 50 states.
These are $139 on an auto drop. And so you just get a new one each month. And the value goes way up. Some of them that I have now, or that I paid $139 for, they're worth like $300 and $400 now because they're collectibles. I didn't know much about collectible coins. I've always just bought gold and silver, so I was just buying the gold and silver, the bullion and stuff, just because it's fun to have. And she got me into these collectible coins, and there's a lot of value in those. So
yeah, at first it's kind of like, oh, I don't know about that. So I recommend starting with that first autosaver because you're not locked into it. So if you decide later on that it's not for you, no problem. You can turn it off on your own from your profile of your account. But if you would, I want to teach you kind of how the points in our team, Marine's kind of taking that over through Zoom. But let us teach you how how quickly they appreciate and how the points work. Because I think if you really understood kind of how it starts to pay for itself, you kind of get into it. And just know that the average over the company is actually 2.5 autosavers per month. So people really, they even want more than one autosaver per month because they're really into it. What else? So another advantage or member benefit that I don't always talk about, but that a lot of people that are in 7K really use, is the 7K Advantage discount app. So as long as you're doing an autosaver at either of the membership levels, you get access to a discount app. Well, it's not one of those coupon books. It's hard to carry around. We all have our phones with us, and we're all pretty used to using apps now. But you literally can get discounts on even like gas stations like Arco in California. So it's designed to, if you use it at all, to more than pay for the whole premium membership at $4.99 per year. That definitely is the better value of membership out of the two. But yeah, so just get used to it. There's discounts even like at Best Buy and TVs and things like that. So the gal that I was launching 7K with, she wouldn't even go to lunch without checking her 7K Advantage discount app because she's so used to saving like at every restaurant that she goes to. So just know I don't always talk about that one. What else? Oh, okay. Is there anything else with, anything else with 7K?
What's that?
Is there anything else that I left out? I always talk so fast. I'm so sorry. Oh, so for those that are watching online.
Believe me, the way she's been talking to you, we slowed her down. Like turned her, because normally she just rattles it off so fast nobody even understand her.
I know. But for those that are watching online, so you can't actually enroll yourself with David on davidstraightsilver.com. Currently that site is down. So if you've already heard kind of our overview and you want to get enrolled on David's team, I don't want to hold you back. You can shoot me a text message. My phone number to get you enrolled is 916-839-9473. 916-839-9473. So two things. If you know that you want the enrollment link, just give me your first, last name, and email address, and I'll send you the link. Again, we recommend the $4.99 membership and the $139 Silver State Animal Autosaver, just because that one appreciates the fastest, about 40% actually. So. And then if you're in the room, there's a white card at the back 7K table. If you can fill out the top part of the card, and then I'll have you sit in one of the chairs back there, just in case you have any questions that come up when you're finishing on your phone, and we'll get you enrolled right here, and you'll get placed in the room. So, okay, I think that's it. Oh, one other announcement is I do not message anyone on Telegram, so I've been getting a lot of, all of us have, but I got a text message this morning.
There are so many fakes out there. You guys be careful, okay? They create about 20 fake me's every month on various social medias. It's not me. If people were getting direct messages from me, it's not me. I don't direct message anybody. Okay, know that. It's happening with everybody in the industry. Bobby, Katie, felt special the other day because somebody copied her. Marcella's been copied. So be careful with those guys, okay? There's not a lot we can do about it. We try and delete it or get the companies to delete as many fakes as we can. It just doesn't happen. So.
Right, and how it works is if I'm calling you, it's because you've requested more information either through straightpma.com for a PMA or through davidstraightsilver.com, and then I call you back. I give you my title. We have a conversation and kind of take it from there. So there's no random messages from Telegram. And then last thing we have back in the back table as well is these warrior bands. They do say straight out of Babylon. Just to kind of remind us that we're at war kind of, as the righteous patriots, and it's kind of like a souvenir. But those proceeds go to kind of helping the moms that we have that are currently fighting with CPS and human trafficking. So they're $40 and they're in the back table. Okay, thank you guys.
I want to introduce Mike Singer to you, and Mike's been playing for you in the morning up there. He's a talented musician, and he asked me this morning if he could say a few words, so I'm just going to let him. I have no idea what he's going to say, so.
All right, everybody, watch out for this guy because he's a righteous warrior. All right, so thank you, David. Everybody in this room obviously is unique and special. We all have our own life and our own reality, right? We're all different. Some of us have had these tremendous, great experiences in life. A lot of us have had a lot of struggles more than others. One of my pet peeves is, as I listen to David, this righteous man, speak, as I mentioned yesterday from the table, I'm always concerned about the things in the world that are destructive to humanity. Well, prior to the COVID pandemic in 2020, pretty much I was a guy, going through life, doing what I could. I served in the Navy. I was an ocean lifeguard, became an EMT, just doing different things, trying to make it through life. But I've been a guitar player my whole life. And before the pandemic, I was playing around town, doing gigs, and driving a little Uber on the side. And suddenly in December 19, the only thing I'm hearing, my dad was like this 24 hours a day Fox News television guy, and I'm always hearing on TV, viruses, pandemics. So 3 years prior, a friend of mine told me in a casual conversation on the phone, he said, I told him that ever since I quit drinking alcohol, I don't get the flu anymore. Literally, when I quit drinking alcohol, I did not get the flu anymore, ever. And he said, I said, I don't get the flu. He says, well, what's the flu, Mike? I said, well, the flu bug. And he kind of laughed and said, what do you mean the flu bug? I said, a virus. And he told me, he said, there's no such thing as viruses, Mike. I said, come on, Brian, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. Of course there's viruses. Everybody knows there's viruses. So that was 3 years prior. So I forgot about it in casual conversation. So jump forward 3 years later in 2019, that's all I'm hearing is viruses, viruses, viruses. And I started to remember what my friend said. And I went on the computer and I started typing in, what is a virus? How do we know there's a virus? Who discovered viruses? One of our viruses discovered. Can we see a virus? What's a virus made of? And I saw these contradictions because I really started looking into it deep. And there were these tremendous contradictions that were bothering me, and I'll spare the details, but there were a lot of contradictions. It seemed like it was just a narrative that was made up. There was little fluffy cartoons and animations of viruses, and narratives of how they attach to cells and this, that, and the other. But then you see the information on their non-living particles. They have no life, no mouth, no nose, no ears, no respiratory, no reproduction, nothing. So I really started diving deep into it. So by March 20, my buddy and I, we did a show called The Mike and Brian Show on YouTube from January to March, and we were discussing this thing about viruses because they are using concepts of viruses to manipulate and control humanity through ignorance and fear. You're going to kill your grandmother. Be considerate, do your part. It's a perfect strategy to manipulate and control people. So I really started looking into it, and I'm telling you, I became a diehard political and social activist because of Trump. I was a Trump supporter. You just happen to be looking at the number one greatest Trump supporter of all time because when I was sick and tired of the Obamas, I was the Bushes, the Clintons, all of it. It's a corrupt system. I was literally never going to vote again. I wasn't. I was done. I was never going to vote again. So when I saw this guy Trump, I was all over Facebook saying, even before he started running, man, I hope this guy runs. And people said, what are you saying, man? This guy's some TV goon. I said, no, man, he's not a corrupt politician that's being paid off by all the corporations. So I became a major Trump pusher, Trump supporter, and I wrote a song called Trump Train, an original song. It got over 40,000 views on YouTube before YouTube took my channel down. People were telling me, man, you should be playing that song at his rallies, and I wanted to, and I would have. So I'm all about Trump, the political stuff that was going on, the collusion, the impeachment. So obviously COVID, that was just a way to mess with the election. We all know that. It was a way to mess with the elections. It's that simple. And every Trump supporter knows that. The fact of the matter is more than half of this nation was behind Trump. That's a fact. Now, when I was doing this virus research, it was so intense. I found so much information. Many of you may know these names: Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Tom Cowan, Dr. Stefan Lanka, Tom Barnett down in Australia, Amanda Vollmer in Canada, just numerous virologists, biologists, people with PhDs, 3 PhDs that are coming forth saying there's no virus. Dr. T.C. Fry, the great AIDS hoax. There's no such thing as a virus. Here's the bottom line on that. Here's 2 factual statements for you. No alleged and so-called virus has ever been purified, isolated, and set aside as a specimen. That's a fact. They have narratives for it because they do this process with chemicals in brain stem cells and monkey kidney, bovine serums, and they do this thing and they get a microscope that says, look at this image, there's a virus. But Dr. Stefan Lanka has proven that you can take healthy tissue and get that exact same image. So they're calling images viruses, and they're creating narratives with all kinds of little images and videos to make people think, ooh, there's viruses out there. I need to protect. There are no viruses. Call me crazy, but I'm not. I'm right. I looked into it more than anybody. TheBigVirusHoax.com. I encourage everybody to write it down. The Big Virus Hoax, H-O-A-X, TheBigVirusHoax.com. I documented everything over the last 3 years on that website with regards to viruses, what they are, what they're not, the true science behind viruses. You want to know what viruses are and what they aren't? There's your answer on that website. Now, as time was going on, I also vaccines. What's in vaccines? Many videos on our vaccines page, how the vaccine industry came into being, how the vaccine industries are creating. So here's the second truthful statement. The first, again, no alleged and so-called virus has ever been purified, isolated, set aside as a sample, because there are none. Here's the second. Any and all, every single disease that anybody has ever heard is caused by a virus. Any and all sicknesses, illnesses, diseases that are alleged to be caused by a virus were created in laboratories. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. And there's a video that I encourage everybody. There's 50 pages. TheBigVirusHoax.com is 50 pages, and I compiled all kinds of stuff on it. But the top video on that page, you've got to at least watch the number one top 2-hour video on that page, because I compiled the best of the best information. There's some snippets of videos I did, talking about, excerpts from Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale White Horse, where there's a lot of stuff. I'll say no more on that. But as time was going on, I'm like, I never wore a face diaper. I'm not going to let them tell me what I have to do. I'm a sovereign free man of God, which is the other thing. I gave my life to the Creator, Lord God Almighty, when I was a teenager. Let me just fast forward and then come back. That's my soul brother right there. He's my spiritual brother. There was something about this man. When I started looking into the issues of our rights, because my buddy and I were like, well, we don't wear face diapers. I was making all these videos in Miami, Florida, where, I was calling the police. Please come here because they're violating my rights. This is a place of public accommodation. I started looking into the U.S. codes, 42 U.S. Code, 18 U.S.C., the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title II and Title III, all these different, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all the things that protect our rights, so that we don't have to be ashamed and intimidated and afraid. And, okay, I'll wear the mask. Yes, I'll do my part. Oh, okay, I'll go get the shot. No. The bottom line is stand for your dignity and your rights. That's it. And that's what I was about. I'm going to stand. And I always said, anybody who truly believes that there's a creator, God Almighty Divine, the God of life, will never wear a face diaper if they're putting their faith and trust in God. It's just that simple. They won't. If there were viruses, I'd be wearing a face diaper. There's not. The website proves it. So when I looked into the rights, it got more and more like, I'm calling police officers, I'm making all these videos. I even had police officers, one of the videos, that video got a lot of views. I had a squad of 8 of them came to my house. I hear a knock on the door, I'm on the computer, I go out in my shorts, I see 8 cops, I turn around, I go get my phone and turn it on, and I go back, yeah, hey, how y'all doing? And people love that video, because I even turned it on my crazy hair. I said, yeah, you guys are coming around, and one of my hair's all over the place, but And I had this great little conversation with them, letting them know. And they came there because I sent letters to Governor Ron DeSantis, telling Governor DeSantis, my wife's going to this show this weekend, and they're going to try to force her to wear a face mask. You need to send some people over there and say she doesn't have to. I really got on it. I'll tell you all this. I joke around, my fellow Floridians here. I always tell people Florida's free because of me. Now, it might not be true, but I joke around and say it because I'll tell you this. Everything that's been published at thebigvirushoax.com, everything there, I flooded Governor Ron DeSantis via his email, his Twitter, his fake posts, plastered everything that's on that website as it was being published throughout 2020, 2021, 2022. He got slammed with it. And there were 4 separate occasions Governor DeSantis came out in the news addressing issues that we specifically were slamming him with. Now, I don't get no credit, and that's fine. I'm not trying to be anybody special. That's a special guy. I'm not looking to be special. I'm just a guy, and I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I do believe in the Creator God Almighty. That's where I put my faith and my trust. But at the same time, here's one of my pet peeves too. I would tell people all the time, I think there's a subconscious problem within the realm of Christianity. Oh, this is Satan's world. Jesus is coming back. I'm waiting for Christ. He's coming back. This is Jesus' world. So what motivation does a person have to do something? What motivation do you have to do anything if, this is Satan's world. Lay not your treasures on this earth, but I'm waiting. Jesus is coming back. I'll sit in my church pew, listen to the preacher, and wait for the Lord to come back. There's a subconscious reality that's been put into the minds of Christians. No, we are Christ, right? Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Overcome. He who overcometh, the same shall be saved. I overcame. I overcame the drugs, the smoking, the alcohol, the porn. People struggle with those issues. By the grace of God, I said, take me, cleanse me, make me whole. And it was many years. It was a process. But the Creator made me right. So going through time in 2021, and I'm pursuing the rights things, and I'm standing for my dignity and rights, I come across this video with some guy who's talking in a way that when I first saw him, it was like, you know, when you see a woman, and I love that woman, you just love at first sight. There was a spiritual connection within the first 3 minutes of the video with that guy right there. I was just connected to this guy. But hold on. Hold on, let's see, where's this going? Because actually, as I watched the video, and I got an hour into it, I started scratching my head. I got 2-3 hours into it, and this happened to be the series of videos. I put it on the website. It's on the videos page at the bigvirushoax.com. It was his, help me out, Idaho, no, the Utah seminar. So I was watching that, and when I got to the third and fourth video, I was like, if this guy's a con man, I'm gonna blow him wide open. I'm gonna expose this guy, because I'm a guy. I'm not gonna let nothing get by me. That's just how I am. I'm hypercritical minded. I'm passionate, and I'm just not gonna. I'm very rational, and there's no psyop gonna get by me. There's a lot of psyops, folks. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, psychological operations going on. So I'm the guy. It's not gonna get by me. I might not move forward, but I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to figure it out. What's going on here? That guy did this to me. I was like, wait, something. If this guy's a con man, I'm going to expose this guy if he's a con man, right? Here's the thing. It became more and more clear. Look, here's the bottom line. David says some things, and here's another, I can go on. I told David this morning, I told him before, David, this is reality for him. He's been doing it for 35 years. I feel like I have to remind him, David, there's some people out there that think you're crazy, right? You know all this, but when people hear this stuff for the first time, right? Raise your hand if when you first started hearing David Straight, you weren't so sure what was going on here. Is this guy a con man, or is this guy legit? And it takes time. So you start researching. You say, wow, he's right on that. Wow, he's right on that. So after I watched the videos, I invited my son. Josh, please stand up for a second. My dad don't stand up. My dad's next to him. He's got a bad foot. But my son and my dad, avid woodsmans, both of them, they were out at the camp. They came back in, and I said, Dad, Josh, you got to watch these videos. My son watched the same videos with me of David Straight. My son, thank God, he's 33 years of age. He's younger than me. He's healthier. He's got a brighter mind, a quicker mind. He's got his dad's super intelligence times 10. So he's a smart guy. He was up all night, man. He came to me the next morning. Dad, I was up all night, man. What David said is true. Dad, I was up all night. Yep, what David said there is true. Yep, what David said there is true. What David said. Yep, I found it. Yep, I found it. Yep, I found it. So my son got on it. Now he's ahead of me now in the process. I'm behind in the process because, again, honestly, folks, some people go, oh, David's making money. David's making money with this. This is a money-making thing. I hope he makes a lot of money with this because he deserves it, even though he doesn't. He deserves to. He deserves it. I was a guitar teacher. If I'm going to do a gig, if it's a corporate gig, I'm going to charge $1,500. Am I ripping him off? No, man. I spent my whole life learning music. I'm going to charge whatever I can. A private party, you want me to go to your house? Give me $600. I'll play at your house for a few hours, right? The man's a professional. He's an expert. He's knowledgeable. This world works on currencies and money. That's how it works, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. He should be, and he doesn't. He's not in it for the money. But there's expenses. This is a great thing they put on. It's incredible. The people that are here, the healthy food, heaps of grapes, green grapes, red grapes, oranges, apples, herbal teas and coffee, raw honey, coconut oil. They're putting some great things here. It takes time and effort to make all the products and the things that they have. So, of course, it's money. This world's about money, right? We live in a world that's about money. So when I was looking into the law things, I was just going to blow this guy's cover if he was a con man. And here I am telling you today, world, that's a righteous warrior, a righteous warrior. He's a man of God. He's a man of God. That's who he is. And that's why I know I had that initial connection with him. So I was just really, what am I going to do? So I created another website, Righteous Army. You can write that one down. There's a link to it at thebigvirushoax.com, righteousarmy.org. Because I said, we need a righteous army. We need a righteous army. We do. We need a righteous army. So I love it. When Marcella was up here and she said righteous patriots, gives me a tingle. There's the righteous warrior. We're all righteous warriors. We all better be. We need to be, right? So let's all of us maintain being a righteous warrior. Seek God first. Let God lead us, guide us, and we have to coordinate. So I created Righteous Army because I was like, well, what are we going to do? People are about militia, right? We need the militia, man. No, if we tried to think we're going to get guns, that's a psyop. That's a psyop. A bunch of good old boys in the backwoods with guns, they're going to take care of this Biden character. They're going to go to, no, they'll be squashed. They'll be called seditionists and terrorists. Now, if there is, here's the bottom line. We all must unite and organize. We must unite with one another. Those of us, here's the way I say it. Maybe it's too extreme, but I say it like it is. At righteousarmy.org, what I've endeavored to do there is to lay out, and this came to me at 3 in the morning, and what a coincidence. I've always said, I wish God would raise me up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and there's an angel there with a big sword and a shield and a vermana and a list, and he says, well done, Michael, here, go get him. I've said that many times, and how ironic. I wake up and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got all these words going through my head, and I go write them down. They say the mouth, the mind, the brain is the greatest weapon, right? So I began to articulate the best I could what the militia really is. We, the people, are the militia. We are, all of us, we're the militia. And what is arms? What is bearing arms? What is our rights? And we must organize and unite. And we must do it tactfully and strategically and smartly. We must come together and organize and unite. So everything that's at Righteous Army was my best shot at articulating, because we can't all agree upon everything, right? We're not all going to agree upon everything. So I did my best to articulate the things that we can all agree upon. We all agree with these issues, and we're all opposed to a leftist, liberal, progressive, transsexual, transgender, transhumanism, New World Order, godless, communist, one world order agenda. We're opposed to that, right? So, look, are we homophobic? Are we gay haters? No. I have friends that are homosexual, but I don't hate gays, right? My brother at the table, should I give him my version of race? Was it good? See my black brother back there with that beautiful smile? I was sitting next to him, and I said, hey, brother, you're gonna freak out when I say the first line here, but you're gonna give me a high five when I'm done. And I said, I looked him right in the eye. I said, I'm a racist. I am a racist because I acknowledge there are different, unique, beautiful races of human beings. I believe there's a creator, God Almighty Divine, who created all of those unique, beautiful, different races. I appreciate the beauty and the uniqueness and the difference of all the unique, beautiful, different races. And I believe we all have the same equality under God in terms of our rights and our freedoms. And therefore, I believe they should all be preserved and protected. They should be maintained. I don't want a future where there's no black, there's no white, there's no Asian, there's no Indian. But the New World Order, one world government agenda is about amalgamating all into one, taking down the nations, combining people together, making them so that there's no more identity and uniqueness of flavors and cultures and unique, beautiful peoples. That's part of it. I love the Chinese people. I love the Indian people. I love black people. I love all people because they're unique. And we should cherish that. We should respect it, honor it, preserve it, protect it, acknowledge it. Give thanks to God Almighty who created it all. They're about destroying what God made. They're about destroying this earth. So the two websites I threw out, thebigvirushoax.com, everything about the viruses, the vaccines, social media censorship, the New World Order agenda, righteousarmy.org. We all need to come together on the things we agree upon and unite and organize with one another throughout the nation. I could go on and on. I see David creeping up on me here. But this man is he's a spiritual leader. He's a righteous warrior, and I love this man. And this guy, everything he says is right. One last thought. Even if even if David's an operative up here, he's trying to lure us all in. He's trying to lure in all those righteous patriots so we can all be rounded up. Thank you, sir, for rounding me up, because I'm ready to check out of this godless world unless we can change it and make it better.
Thank you, Mike. Doesn't he remind you of George Carlin? Right? Yeah, she said that to me a minute ago, and I said, absolutely. That's who he reminds me of. I had no idea what he was going to do up here, but let me tell you a little bit about him. Okay? This man started bugging the crap out of me on the phone, hours at a time, trying to disprove everything. He was a pain in my ass. And I love him. I love him because we have everything. We have all of the law on our side as state nationals. We have all the proof of everything that I talk about. Everything I talk about literally has been proved in court. In courts all across this country, in thousands of court cases, it's been proved. It's been documented. It's righteous history, and it's undeniable. And for 35 years I've been doing this. And it started off small and hard and strenuous. Little meetings in libraries, 20 people on a Saturday, one day only. And thank you for being here on the Sabbath. I'm a Sabbath keeper. I believe in the Sabbath and keeping it holy. And the reason I'm willing to do this on Sabbath rather than just relaxing and resting is because this is my church. Okay? You guys are my brothers and sisters in Christ. And more than that, you're my fellow Americans and fellow people of the world. Okay? And to me, the only way we're coming out of this, and coming out of her, O ye Babylon, which is that corporate construct, is to unite, like Mike said, get together, and there's going to be a ton of naysayers. And if you get popular, you will be attacked. And you'll be attacked and criticized and written up and duplicated, and it's not easy. It's not even close to easy. And some of you, God says that some of the people that are closest to you will become your enemy. And some of the people that you believe are your enemies will become your closest allies. And that's who Mike is. At first, man, I thought he was my enemy. He was trying to tear me up. And
One quick thing. Who's going to interfere on you?
got to turn on.
Going to interfere on you. I'm sorry, folks. David, just wanted to come up and give him a hug. No. Yeah, I did. I love you, man.
Love you too.
But I wanted to say, he said Mike Singer. Mike Singer is my musical pen name.
Yeah,
I wrote a
I
children's
know.
music book, Grandstaff and his musical friends. But my real last name is Van Scoik. It's a Dutch name. Van Schaik. Van Schaik.
And
Van
I can't
Scoik.
even say
Who
that,
can say
so
Van Schaik?
it's Mike Singer to me.
So Mike Singer's fine. That's my musical pen name. But Michael
I knew
Van
that.
Scoik, great. Just so people know. Appreciate that, David.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'm just a farm boy from a mill town in Oregon. That's how I grew up. Grew up on a farm. Was born on 3,300 acres in California when I was very little, 5 years old. My dad said, California's going to hell. That was 1969. And he bought two 400 to 500 acre ranches in Oregon. And I ended up living at one for about a year and a half, and then moving to the other one where I was raised. And I've had a tremendous amount of experiences in my life. Um, I don't feel like my life has ever been David Straight's life. God put me in all kinds of places all over this world, doing things that David Straight never would have done on his own. And I'm telling you, I have fought, I have bled, I've been shot, I've been poisoned, I've been captured, I've been tortured, and I've done a lot of things that I believed I was doing for the right reasons, for the right people, for the right nation. And I learned later that it was all over money or oil or politics. I've been in the Oval Office. I've been at The Hague. I've been in a lot of different places in my life. I've done a lot of different things that have put me in a position. I've got 5 college degrees. Some of them don't mean much, like animal nutrition. Of course, it does transfer across to us as people. But I've never really worked for government. I've worked for private contractors, mostly. And that's kind of a nice life because you can be home, you can be doing your own thing, you can be running your own business, and then just go do something when needed. And so it's a little bit different. A lot of what I did was of a religious nature. I studied religion for 50 years. Grew up in a very righteous, religious household. And I had a very good upbringing. I was the youngest of 8, 6 sisters. My brother was a bookend, and I was the other bookend. 6 girls in between. And then I grew up having a bunch of daughters and a bunch of kids and a bunch of grandkids, and now I have a lot of daughters that I've rescued over the years and rescued their kids, and they're just like my family. They're my daughters, and you see them around. So I appreciate them. I appreciate what they do and try and help for me. But that's kind of a short version of my life, so you new people will know where I come from. But I'm very humble. I don't like ego. I think ego gets in the way of a lot of people, and it destroys a lot of good people in this movement. They get an ego, they get jealousy, they get greed, they get all kinds of things. I'm going to tell you, people think this is about the money. It's not about the money. These things are expensive to put on. It's expensive to travel. It's expensive to stay somewhere. This show right here is a money-losing investment for me. And I'll tell you, in the early years, I made a lot of money in business. And I spent $800,000 of my own money putting on seminars for you guys in the early years to try and get this movement rolling. $800,000 of my own personal money. Now I'm trying to get it to break even, or maybe start supporting me as I get older. Because pretty soon I'm not going to be able to do as many of these. I've already cut back, guys. I was doing 4 to 5 seminars a month. Right now I'm doing 1. They're getting harder for me. I've got other things in the background that I have to do. And I'm going to tell you about a little success we had over over the last weekend in May, May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. And this has to do with child trafficking, the satanic ritual abuse, an investigation that my team has been doing for more than 5 years. About 3.5 years ago, we arrested 95 people in that same area. And we just do all the research. We do gather all the evidence. We turn that evidence into the military. The military researches it, verifies what we give them. We're not in control. We just don't go out willy-nilly and do stuff because that gets you in trouble. We don't get in trouble. Okay? And usually Special Operations Command or something like that will call us and say, David, this is what we're going to go do. Do you want to be a part of it? Show up. And we do. And I did. But May 31st, 1st, and 2nd, because of the information, and one of my team members, a good man, I'm just going to call him Ghost. He's in protective custody right now because he's being hunted. But the information that he's gathered and turned in, and you can go on the newspapers in that area and see for yourself. But we picked up 48 people in a satanic ritual abuse right in the middle of murdering a child. Delta Force did it for us. They came in and did it based on the evidence that we did, and they arrested 48 people, including a judge and a sheriff. Okay? And in that area, over the 3-day weekend, we arrested 322 in total, based upon the evidence. If you watch my videos, you'll know. I really don't want to say it right now, but hell. Cache County, Utah, northern Utah. Okay? So that's one area we've done a lot of work in. All right. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitles them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to this separation. Got your glasses? I had a hard time with that one word because I couldn't see it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. Deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. Government operates on our consent. If they don't have our consent, they don't operate. But you have to hold them accountable to that. They do all kinds of things without our consent. And they think they have it. They think they have it because of check-marked boxes you've checked on applications that you've done, with agencies you've done business with just too cute sometimes, with contracts with government. This is hard for most people, especially you new people. We all believe government's government, that they're there to represent us and be our representatives. That's a crock of shit. And I'm tired of it. They're not our representatives. They're our public servants. Yeah, it is. It is right. And that's a problem because they gain too much power by their greed and their ego. And we have to stop their greed and ego. And I remember President Trump about 2.5 years ago. I was watching him and he stood up and he goes, "Quit funding the cabal. Stop it." And I thought, he's right. We've all been funding them. We've all been funding evil. Why are we funding them? I'm going to talk a little bit about the IRS here in a minute, and I'll show you some things that's going to blow your mind. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Do you think these have been light and transient causes? What's been coming? They've torn the mask off. They're not even hiding stuff anymore. They're just coming out and being criminal. They're not even hiding it. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more. Yeah, I don't know why they make this stuff in 6-point print, right? Or 4. Getting old, I guess. You know, what's funny is you give me a scope and a little rifle and show me something at a half a mile and I see it perfectly with my bare eyes. But when it comes to this little print up close, forget it. That mankind are more disposed to suffer while evil is sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. And that's the problem. We've gotten accustomed to this stuff. Boy, I can't look up with these. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. I'm going to stop right there. And the reason we're here is we're all tired. We're all fed up. We've all awakened to the corruption. And unfortunately, I think most of our founding fathers are surprised that we've lasted this long. Most governments don't last a couple hundred years. They have to renew themselves. Even England has renewed itself with each king or queen. And that's one of the actual benefits of having a king or queen. If you have a righteous king, you live under prosperity. You have an evil king, well, then things are a problem and you need to take him out, right? and be righteous. But when you have an elected form of government who has become a democracy, we are not a democracy. We're a republic. This country was founded as a republic. And this word democracy has destroyed this nation. Because democracy is a very definition of mob rule. And the Democratic Party is the Communist Party. And that's where they originated, and that's where they came from, and that's what they still are. And that's a problem. The biggest problem is that we have parties at all. Because parties are just there to divide us in the first place. I sit down and I talk to a staunch Democrat, and if you give me enough time, we're brothers and he's on our side. And I can do that every time, without fail, if he'll just give me the time and listen. And it's not that I'm so darn convincing, it's that I've studied it so long that I can point out facts he didn't see. And as I point out those facts, then he comes around. Tell you a little thing about Ronald Reagan. I was a big fan of Ronald Reagan. Okay, I actually have some special ties to the man. Ties that if you were in my office and you were in my glass cabinet, you would see things that literally were his that are now mine. And I think one of the funniest little jokes I know about Reagan is when he was running for office as a Republican, he went out into the farmland of America, and the farmers were all Democrats back then. All of them were Democrats. And he saw a farmer next to the road in his field by a tractor. And he pulled over and he stopped and he says, "Hi, my name is Ronald Reagan. I'm a Republican. And I was wondering if you would listen to my views." And the farmer says, "Yes, I'd love to hear your views, but I got to go get Ma. Can we go to the house?" And they drove up to the house, and the farmer runs in to get Ma, and Ronald Reagan's standing around kind of looking for a little bit of an elevated place to give his speech from. And the only thing he can find is a pile of manure, old dried manure. So he stands up on there, and Ma and Pa come out, and he starts giving his speech, and pretty soon, because he was so convincing, he was so good at the facts and the knowledge, Ma says, "I really loved what you had to say. I've never heard a Republican speak before." And Ronald Reagan looks down and he says, "That's okay. I've never given a speech from a Democratic platform." So anyway, that's my Ronald Reagan joke. But you know, I'm going to use these for a minute. All right. Our founding fathers did something for us. Did I even spell that right? They were so careful in the Bill of Rights that they put things in a very, very specific order. Why did they put them in that order? Do you know? That's right. First things first. The first event, the most important, God. The freedom to worship in whatever respect we want. I don't care what religion you are. I died to protect that right. Okay? But this was to give us a moral compass. A moral direction. Okay? Very, very important. Then freedom of speech was so that we could talk about it. So we could then write about it. So that we could assemble in groups like this and talk more about it. And then we could go and redress our grievances. And then we could defend it. And this is the order that was put in the Bill of Rights right at the very, very beginning for a very important and specific reason. And without that order, without those rights, we wouldn't have freedom. We wouldn't have freedom. But where has this country gone? Well, its moral compass is being destroyed. It's being destroyed by a very small percentage of the population that is now trying to become a very large percentage of the population. My wife Bonnie said 60 to 70% of all the women prisoners where she's at are lesbians. The gay community is huge. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. But don't use it as a political advantage or to destroy other people's rights. And that's a problem. You go into the schools, you start doing what they're doing right now to our young children, and there are hopefully a lot of people like me who are going to be there when you come out. Because that ain't right. It's not right, and it's happening all over this country, and I am sick of seeing it on every news program there is. I open my iPad and I get all these notifications. I'm getting emails that I sure didn't ask for that are showing me all these things. And I can't hardly stand it in here. I don't like the direction that we're morally taking in this country. That is bothering me more than just about anything right now, other than corruption in our judicial system. Now, yesterday I started to write the administrative, judicial, and legislative branch, and I put we the people's branch of government as the legislative branch. Why did I do that? Because that is the branch of government where we're supposed to go to in our states to redress our grievances. It's called a remonstrance. And do you know in this nation, there was a man named John Gentry, and I love John. He was out of Tennessee. But he wrote one of the first remonstrances to the Tennessee legislature, and the only remonstrance to any legislative body in this nation that was ever submitted in 120 years. We went 120 years without someone submitting a remonstrance to the legislative body. That's 120 years of football and sports and fishing and hunting and distraction and raising families without paying attention to things that are wrong. I would like to see everybody in this room write their own remonstrance. Pick something you disagree with that you think is important enough that you need to hit one of your state legislators for, and address your grievance. This is the area that has stopped us, and what's caused the corruption is we quit standing up. In those remonstrances, we need to say, hey, look, Mr. Legislator, if you're not going to pay attention to this that is so important to me and the people around me that I am writing this to you, then I'm not going to vote for you next time. You're going to be out of office. In fact, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you're out of office. See, I don't care whether someone runs as a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. You vote for the man and his purpose, his goals. And if you don't like what your Republican is doing, well, then vote for the other guy. Just don't vote a whole party ticket. That doesn't get us anywhere. All that does is make one party stronger or the other party stronger. That's all it does. Now, Trump ain't going to like it when I say that, and I'm a big supporter of him. I think there's a lot of things he does wrong. I think there's a lot of things that I would have done differently. But he's done more. I judge a man by his works. He's done more for us than any other president, period. Period. In history, he's done more for the American people. And he's done more to clean up this nation long after he's no longer president than any president has ever done. He's put things in place. All we got to do is understand what they are and go act on them, go move on them. He's already put them in place. And I'm not seeing too many people act on those things. Like corruption in our judicial system, like trafficking. Do you know he made trafficking an international crime? And he told us things that we don't recognize as a people. Now, I recognize them because I've been teaching it for 30 years. So when you know something and you see it, you recognize it. But most average people don't recognize some of the things he did. We have thoughts in our mind when I say something like child trafficking. Everybody thinks of little kids. What did I say the definition of a minor was? Exactly right. My wife is being child trafficked right now at the age of 55 because she has not claimed her minor estate yet. She was in the process of learning how to do it. We've only been married a year and a half, by the way. Well, August 31st of 2021 is when her and I got married. And there's a lot of things I'm finding out now that I didn't know. Otherwise, I probably could have came in a year ago and solved them before it got real bad. But there's a reason it happened the way it happened. And I see it clear as day, and God shows it to me on a regular, consistent basis. When I'm lying there in bed and I'm ready to just go take them all out and get her out of jail and do the things that I know I can do, God says, hold on a minute, David. Knock it off. This is what has to happen. This is why she's here. This is the order we've got to follow. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to get exposed to the masses, to the world. She's on a mission right now. Let her do her mission. All day yesterday, I'm waiting for her phone call, waiting for her phone call. Last night, I get a phone call from a husband who happens to be Bonnie's bunkmate's husband, letting me know Bonnie cannot call me and to tell me she loves me, and she can't call me. So not to worry, that she's okay. Now, if Bonnie was bleeding and lying on the floor, she'd tell me she's okay. You understand that, right? So I continue to worry, but I didn't get to talk to her yesterday. Talked to her one day out of the last 5. And one reason is she's always getting in trouble, helping others, constantly. She will risk her life to help somebody else. And she is on a mission. And I'm constantly reminded of that by God. And he keeps me up at night. What's that? Yeah, I don't much care about that. I really don't. So, we need to address our grievances. We need to do everything in our power not to use these. To be a peaceful people. This is why the peace flag is our background. This is the America's peace flag. I've got pictures of our buildings, our commerce buildings, our Capitol buildings flying this flag in the 1800s. Anybody here that's from the Coast Guard? The U.S. Coast Guard? We have any? What is this flag? Put the Coast Guard logo right here. That's the Coast Guard flag. Why? Because the Coast Guard was set up as a civil organization under our military. Civil. They're to guard our shores, to guard our people. The rest of the military goes around the world, but the Coast Guard guards our shores. And that's their flag. They adopted the peace flag and put their logo in the middle of it. So for people to tell me, well, this flag isn't a U.S. flag, well, you better study history. Okay? I've got a picture on my iPad with one of the very first Confederate soldiers who had just got his uniform, and he's young, standing with his family in a small town in Louisiana in front of the only building in town that was a government building. And he's standing there taking a picture with his family about ready to head to war. And he's got to walk all the way to Virginia from Louisiana. And that flag was flying over that building when that picture was taken. Right before the war started. Right immediately after 11 delegates from 7 southern states walked out of Congress, leaving Congress sin die with no date to ever resume. And Texas went off on its own and formed its own nation. The other southern states went back under the Articles of Confederation. One of our founding documents that was written more than almost 100 years earlier. And they decided to be the Confederate States of America in a war of northern aggression. What do I mean by that? How did the Civil War start? What started it? You guys know? Taxes. Senator Morrill passed an unfair tax bill. Taxes were supposed to be equal across everybody. And he passed a tax bill, got it signed by the president at the time, that unfairly taxed the people of the South. The farmers of the South were paying up to 60% tax on their tobacco and their cotton and other items. Well, the manufacturing companies of the North were paying 6%. And those delegates, notice the term I used? Delegate, not representative. They're not our representatives. That's a democracy. They're our delegates. Words are important. And 11 delegates from 7 southern states walked out of Congress in the middle of the session and went home. And those states pulled away from the Union, from the United States. And they have flipped the script so much they're taking down Confederate statues all over the South. Let me tell you something, as this day was then, I would join the Confederate side because of what I know. Understand that. They were in the right. They were addressing their grievance. And here, their statues have been taken down. Their grave sites graffitied and busted up and torn apart. I don't know about you, but that's not my America. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I want to be. And I think the reason we're all here are along the same lines of those kind of reasons of what they're doing to us. What the AMA is doing to us, what the CDC is doing to us, what the FBI is doing to our president, what the FBI has tried to do to me. They've come and visited me a few times. I usually send them packing within about 3 minutes. But I do it because of the knowledge I have. And I don't consent. Now, I don't doubt that could come for me again. Let me tell you something. Again, it's about that circle, that good and evil circle. And you can write every agency on earth in it. And there's FBI agents that absolutely love what I'm doing and encourage me. They write me letters. They send me emails. They've called me on the phone. They say you're doing the right thing. And there's FBI agents that could be in this room right now. I don't know. I've actually had them attend seminars. And they've came for nefarious purposes. See? I welcome them to come, by the way. I've always done that. I want the judges, I want the attorneys, I want the police officers, I want the FBI, I want government agents to come to my meetings. Because if they'll give me 3 days, they'll be on my side. And I'm confident of that. I had one in Columbia, Tennessee. He sat through the class all day Friday, all day Saturday. Saturday night, he writes me a letter on a yellow legal pad. Sunday morning, I'm up there. I'm getting my mic on. I'm up there getting my stuff ready. And he walks up and says, David, here, I just want to let you know that I'm with the FBI, and I came here for other reasons, but I listened to you for 2 days. Read this. And he left. He couldn't stay on Sunday. His wife wanted him home. And the letter said that. He wasn't really there for the conference. He was sent there from the headquarters of the FBI out of Huntsville, Alabama. Yes, the FBI headquarters has moved to Huntsville, Alabama. Okay? Most agencies of government have moved out of Washington, D.C. It's pretty much a ghost town. I can remember when Reagan was in the White House, and it took 15 minutes to drive across the park because the traffic was so heavy. That was in the 80s. Now you can get across the park in 30 minutes, less than, all the way across town in 30 minutes now. There's just no traffic there. So, that letter was pretty interesting, the letter he wrote to me. In fact, it told me a lot of secrets about government and what they're doing. It told me about things that I'm doing that he encouraged me to keep doing in that letter. It told me about his life and his family and what he believes. Can you imagine an agent of government saying that stuff about his personal life to you? It was one of the best written letters I've ever had. And I kept it. I've got a whole book of letters that I've kept over the years. If we don't understand these things, we don't understand how to take care of them. We just don't. And Mike said something pretty cool. I'm going to keep using that name, Mike. That Mike the singer name. He said something pretty cool. I actually wish he was back up here to say it again. But we as a people, we cannot any longer afford for our children and our grandchildren's future to allow them to get away with the things they're getting away with now. We can't allow them to do it. And I'll tell you what's been happening with our courts. Literally, it's been going on. It started getting worse in 1972, but it got a whole lot worse in 85. And ever since 85, our court system in this nation has been running rogue. Absolutely rogue. Doing their own thing and not following the law. And they've been doing that in every court. I've watched the mothers with young babies being taken by CPS, going into family courts. I've watched it get to the point where it's almost impossible to even fight in a family court. Even if you file all the right paperwork, you do all the right thing, you object to all the right reasons, on and on and on, they just do whatever the hell they want to do. They don't even follow the law. I've sat in courtrooms and I've asked the judges, are you following the doctrine of parens patriae right now? Yes or no? And the judges say, absolutely yes. I said, you know that's a false and fraudulent doctrine, right? The Bible tells us so. That our children are a gift to the parent. And you have no right as a man to take that child away from a mother or a father. No right whatsoever. And what created that agency in the first place? We'll call it generically Child Protective Services. That's a very generic term because in every state they call it something different. Department of Human Health and Human Resources. They call it all kinds of different things in different states. Child Protective Services. What created that agency? Do you guys know? Nobody knows. That's interesting. What's that? No. What created it was Social Security. Title IV of Social Security. Bill Clinton helped. No, he didn't. He hurt us bad. But with the Adoption and Safe Families Act, that's another method of funding, federal funding, that's an incentive to take children from their parents. The Adoption and Safe Family Act. But Title IV of Social Security is what created Child Protective Services, and it's how they get paid. And it incentivized kidnapping of children from their parents. That's what it did. And it allowed these family courts through the GSA program to take money out of your trust. Now, how many new people know that they have a trust in their name? How many don't? Okay. What if I was to tell you you're worth $100 million right now? Bare minimum. In fact, I've never seen one that low. You can access it. It's going to take you some knowledge first. Yeah, you got to unlearn a whole bunch of crap that you were taught, and then you've got to learn a new way of speaking and a new way of standing, being competent, having the right status, and understanding your jurisdictions and taking dominion over them as God commanded you to do. Years ago, after having a lot of religious classes, having grown up in a religious household, having a lot of religious classes in high school and college, and going out in the world and going to different churches of different religions so I could learn what their beliefs were. I wasn't there to be there. I wasn't really there to be there to worship God. I was there to study. And I went and I studied and I took notes and I wrote things down and I learned what their core beliefs were of different religions. And in doing so, I figured some things out. One was even Jesus Christ was against organized religion. And as I went around to different churches, I picked out the reasons why. It became very crystal clear to me. Now, if you go to one church all the time, it's a church you like, and you associate with the people in it, and you like the preacher or whoever's running the show, I don't think you ever see that. But when you go to different religions, and you write down their basic principles, and you listen to what they're saying, and how they're actually going, a lot of them, against the Word of God, what they do is they grab the Bible and they pick out feel-goody. Do you know what feel-goody is? Okay, first they start off like this. They preach holy hell and Satan. They do. And they make you really feel bad for your sins. And then they change course in the middle and they start bringing out the feel-goody and they make you feel good, and then you put a lot of money in the collection plate and you leave happy. And sometimes fed. Sometimes those are pretty good meals after those church services. And that's what happens. And I'm starting to go, well, gosh, I've read the Bible by that time about 20 or 30 times. I kind of understand the principle of it all. Why are they only using certain scriptures and pulling them out of context? They're pulling them out of context, just the feel-goody scripture out of a whole story. And when they do that, they don't get the meaning of the story across, or the parable. And they don't get it across to you. And I realized, well, it's to put more money in the collection plate. And here's where I'm going with this. I learned even the religion that I grew up in doesn't follow their own doctrine. And that bothered me. So I went back to church and I volunteered to give a talk at the next meeting. Imagine that. Me? Anyway, I got up there and I talked. And I started reading from their own doctrine. And I could see 2 or 3 of the leadership of the church getting very nervous as I'm speaking, and I'm keeping my eye on them. And I'm speaking to the congregation. And they're getting very, very nervous. And pretty soon, just before the end of my speech, my talk, I see them get up out of their chairs away from their families and walk over and stand at the wall at the aisleway where they knew I had to exit the stage. And the minute I did, and as I'm walking past them, and I'm trying to be friendly and just get past them, they say, "Can you come with us?" And they called me into the back room. And they chastised me. They did more than chastise me. They threatened me. And I said, "That's okay." See, because once I leave these doors today, I'm never stepping foot back in here again. And except for one of my sisters died and her funeral happened to be in that church, I never did. That was the only time I ever stepped my foot back in there. I never stepped back in there for a service again. See? And the reason I'm telling you this is we've got to do that. Not just with our own churches, we got to call them out. But we've got to call them out for this moral reasons, because they're teaching a lot of stuff that they shouldn't be teaching anymore. Now, here's another thing I learned. The Bible is a trust indenture. Everybody goes, "What?" If you read the Bible without paying attention to what book you're in, what chapter, what verse, just read the words as a complete story, you'll actually see the trust. Most people skip around in the Bible. I've done that many times myself. But in Genesis, God created everything. We didn't create nothing. We took what he created and we reformed it and made a table or a building or floors. But he created it all. And it's his. And we came in this world naked. And we're going to leave naked with nothing. So material stuff shouldn't matter to you. And when I was young, material stuff mattered a lot. And I learned better. And now I don't care what I have. I've told Bonnie a million times, give me you, a sleeping bag and a tent, and a little bit of food to eat, and I'm happy. I don't care about all the crap. What the house is, what furniture it is. She's the one that cares about that. And as long as she does, I'll support her habit. Because if she's happy, I'm happy, right? That's the way it is. Even the king bows to the queen. What's that? Yeah, happy wife, happy life. So we do what's necessary, but I can live without it myself. But when you read the Bible as a trust indenture, you learn that God is the executor of the trust. He put the trust into existence. He created everything. He put everything into it. And then he commanded mankind. He commanded us to take dominion over the land, the air, and the water, and everything therein, and subdue it. Now in Hebrew, the word subdue is a little bit different than what Americans think the word subdue is. Especially our American military. They think subdue is put a boot on somebody's neck. Okay? To subdue means to have knowledge, to know it so well that you control it, that you can use it, your knowledge, for the benefit of others. And so he made me mankind, the trustee. And as I become man, an adult, then who am I the trustee for? The beneficiaries. This is why God goes into the begats. Who begat whom, and who begat whom, and it's the genealogy of the people of the world, and it goes on forever. In fact, in the Bible, it's the hardest part to get through, right? Most people skip it, right? They skip the names of all the beneficiaries. But when you read it, you see that the intention is to go on forever. What's the definition of the word forever? End of the earth. To the end of the earth. That means we are also the beneficiaries. We're not only the trustees, but we're the beneficiaries. We're the trustees for our future generation and for those around us to make sure things are taken care of properly, fiduciary-wise as well. That was hard to say for me. My tongue got tied there. Fiduciary-wise. And we're the trustees for those reasons, but we're also the beneficiaries to receive. And therefore the Bible is a trust indenture. And in reality, it's two trust indentures. The New Testament is another one. See? And if you read it as a trust, you're going to get more out of it. You're going to get a lot more out of it. In fact, your mind will start opening up, and things will become a whole lot clearer to you if you're looking at it as a trust. All nations were formed as a trust. Do you know that? The Catholic Church in the 1600s tried to take the trust from God and from its people. And they did it with the Unum Sanctum, claiming the right to all souls. And then they did it in 3 follow-up trusts. We call them testamentary trusts. Setting aside the first trust set aside the jurisdiction of the land. And it made the trustee who? No. The trustee of the land. Who did it? No? Okay. You guys aren't coming up with it, so I'm going to tell you. The King of Spain. The King of Spain became the trustee of the jurisdiction of the land. Do you know what he did? He said, that's not my position. And he gave it back to mankind. He didn't accept being the trustee. And he gave the jurisdiction of the land to all the men and women of the world forever. The jurisdiction of the air, the Vatican kept for itself. The jurisdiction of the water, they gave to the monarchies of Great Britain in admiralty to control the seas. And England started building a massive amount of ships. And they did that to control the world. Now, people also say, well, I thought Spain produced the most ships. What was their reason? So I'm going to tell you what their reason was. Spain produced the most ships for the righteous reasons. As the heirs of King Solomon. Here's a big confusion a lot of American patriots have. If I said something like the 13 families, most people would go, okay, that's the cabal, that's the Rothschilds, that's this, that's that, well, that's true. That's how the evil side mirrored the righteous side. Evil always puts a mirror up. They always take something that's righteous, mirror it, and then destroy it, try and destroy it. And that's how they keep their belief and their confusion with the people. See? Spain created all those ships to go around the world and gather all the gold and silver and treasures of the world. Do you know why? Do you think they were plundering other countries? No, they weren't. And I'll tell you why. Because all the gold and silver was given to King Solomon, the son of King David. King David is the most mentioned king in the Bible. He's mentioned more than Jesus Christ himself in the Bible. And his son, King Solomon, at that period of history, was blessed by God. He literally was followed, his following encompassed the earth. And he had miners in nations all around the world. And so when you hear of King Solomon's mines, it's not some hidden place in Africa they've been trying to discover. That's what the movies told you. His mines were in Papua New Guinea and the Philippines and in South America with the Incans and the Mayans, and his mines were up in Alaska and Canada. His mines were all over Europe. Yeah, you can go to Scotland and mine gold. Okay? God put in his trust all the gold and silver in the world. Every piece that had ever been taken out, and every piece that was still there and is still there, is under and held in trust by the descendants of King Solomon. And so when I say 13 families, those are 13 families that exist around the world that are holding the gold and silver in trust for you. And both the evil system that was allowed to exist and the righteous system that has existed since Solomon is all based upon the righteous deposits of those gold and silver. And this is a message that has not been told much to the American people. It's one of the other things I've been doing for 30 years in the intelligence world. One of my jobs was to help get all the royal families together on the same page. Most of them would never talk to each other. None of them trusted each other. Within the families themselves, they didn't trust each other. It was a massive undertaking that took more than 30 years. And now we have all their signatures on the same documents. They're united now. Some of them are still trying to run things their own way, but they're united now and have agreed that in the end days, which they've always known, that they were the trustees. Always have known it. That is, knowledge has been passed down for generation upon generation in those families. They always know they were the trustees for the benefit of the people of the world in the last days. And all that gold has been collected and put in vaults around the world, and all held by private trust companies, guarded by militaries of the world, paid for by those families to guard. Yeah, they fund our military. Let me clarify this for a minute. The reason a little tiny young kid named Parker Schnabel, who's been on this show called Gold Rush for a decade now, started out when he was like, I don't know, 17 or 18 years old or something. The reason he has to get a mining permit up in the Yukon to move millions of cubic yards of dirt to get a few thousand ounces of gold, The reason he has to get a mining permit is so governments know how much gold is being taken out of the ground because it's in trust under King Solomon. And that's why a miner has to get a mining permit. Most of the miners don't even know that's the reason. It all has to be accounted for. And eventually it gets melted down. Some of it gets put into big bars. And when those bars are made, there's a World Bank number and a king's seal stamped on the bottom of each one of those bricks. And that's when they go to the depositories. They get made into rings, they get made into all kinds of things. And they're used as they're meant to be used. You got a gold chain around your neck. I got a silver ring on. They're meant to be used by the people for whatever purpose we want. A gold cross, a silver ring. But eventually, all gold is held in trust on deposit. The beneficiaries just get the use of it. And I'm one of the beneficiaries with this right here. And one of the beneficiaries with this right here. And because I hold this in my possession, I'm a beneficiary. If I don't have any gold or silver, and I just got fiat currency in my pocket, what am I? And indigent and a pauper. Where's your proof if you don't? See, there lies the problem. Look at my wife, Bonnie. I got more than $500,000 of this crap in my safe. Okay? Did she take some into the courtroom with her? Back before she knew any of this crap? When she was a good slave, a good U.S. citizen, back in 2015, had she walked into the courtroom with it, she wouldn't be there today. They deemed her indigent back then. That was long before I met her. Understand that's why she's there, some of the reason. It's not privilege. Rights are purchased. They're given to us. They're a gift. They were purchased with Christ's blood. All of our rights were. Yes, they were. Yeah. You're exactly right. They've been there from the beginning. I am describing two separate systems, good and evil. This has always been a war. Everything we're going through is a war between good and evil. This is what I'm trying to get across, and it's not easy to get this across. It's not an easy thing. And I'm trying to give you little helpful hints at saying it differently than anyone else is going to say it in the world that you're in. They're not going to tell you what I'm telling you. Many of them don't know. This is a problem we have with people like Kim Guggen advising people about the financial stuff. She hasn't got a clue. She's not even involved. Her name's not on anything anymore. It was, but she screwed up, so they removed her. But she continues, and now she doesn't know what she's even talking about. So, on and on and on. This is how it is. You've got the descendants of King Solomon, those heirs of those 13 families that are running things. What did the United States do over time? They started taking those families out. Ferdinand Marcos. They lied. They said he took $5 to $7 billion of his own people's money and his wife spent it on shoes. Bullshit. He did nothing but put money out of the royal family into the people of the Philippines because they were entitled to it. So then our government took over the Philippines and put in their own government. And right now, we finally got a Marcos in as running the de facto government for the United States. That's kind of a key. That's like having our own little Trumpy over there. Okay? Does he know everything? No. He's got to learn too. Everything's a learning curve for all these guys because they don't know all the history. I mean, I sat one member of the Marcos family in my office, and I'm telling her things about her own family she doesn't even know. See? But she's on the right track, and she's growing within their organization. So I'm all for her. I love her. I hope she continues to learn and continues to grow and continues to do what she can do to help. But these are the things that we've had to do over time because it's coming, and it's coming so fast. I don't know if you've been watching the bank failures around the world, the new sovereign currencies, the governments that are pulling away from the UN right now. This is a beautiful, fun time to be living in when you see those things, when you research them, and when you know so that you recognize. If you don't know, you don't recognize when it's right in front of your face. So you have to have an open mind. You have to know a little so that you can recognize what's going on. And as you do, you will continue to wake up. Your minds will continue to expand. You'll continue to learn more and more things. Notice my seminars have been getting a little different because I believe we're at a period of time where I have to get different. You can learn a lot of the crap that I've been teaching out of the books, off the videos. There's no reason for me to do much of that anymore. Sure, I should read the 8 parts of a contract, and I probably will. But, I mean, those things are important, especially for the new people. But I'm telling you, you can get those off the videos. What I'm trying to give you here, and it's hard, is insights, little tiny hints and insights of what's going on in the world that is changing the world. So we put one of our team members over in Switzerland with UBS Bank, and he released several $1 trillion of deposit money into Africa. The only way that money can be released, guys, is to fund humanitarian projects. That's how it has to be released. So first we had to go find humanitarian projects, write all the paperwork, get all the documentation, submit it to the royal families, get approval. Then the royal families give permission to the guy with the badge who can walk into the bank and sit in front of the terminal. And when he punches in his information, all his authorization comes up on the screen, and the bank president's mouth goes. And then it's, okay, what do you need? Because not even the presidents and CEOs of these banks, which have been created with these accounts, these type of accounts, can access those accounts. It takes the signatures of all the families, and it takes the guy with the badge that holds the trust in order to release those accounts. And then you can't release the big accounts because the management fees that have to be paid are 4%. And 4% of an account that's maybe something like this, 478, followed by 152 zeros, is one hell of a lot of money. And 4% of that's, nobody's got it. We could sell everything the United States government has, and they couldn't come up with the money to release and pay the management fees on some of these accounts. And this is what governments were trying to do, and the Pentagon was trying to do, is they were trying to release the money in some of these accounts that are so big that nobody could accomplish it. So what we had to do was say, hey, in some banks, They're smaller accounts. Let's show you. And so we found a bank with the smallest account, and we paid the management fee and released some of the money, and it went to benefit the people, and the governments went, oh, I guess it can be done. You know who's the big holdout? You know who's trying to stop it on behalf of the cabal? Yep, us. Our leaders, so-called. They're not. They're not our leaders. They're the army. They're the army of the cabal. They're the pillar, the Washington Monument. You know, that big thing in the middle of D.C. that goes up like that, and it's got a little tip on the top that's 1,666 feet high and 666 inches across its base. You got to understand, we're our own worst enemies when I'm speaking as we, as our nation. But who is the people? We're the nation. We're the government. We have to redress our grievances. We've got to stand up. We've got to say, no, enough is enough. We got to say, take that pillar down. You know, I wouldn't mind if they just put a little explosives at the bottom side and drop it in the reflecting pond. But something's got to take place. Things have got to change. The pillars need to fall. You understand that, right? We can't go on doing what we've been doing and expect not to be destroyed ourselves. Somebody with a computer, pull up Isaiah 59, 14 through 19. We'll just take a little out of the middle. I'll give you the highlights. Paraphrase. There is no justice to be found on the land. Our people are being destroyed by justice, by not having any. And no man is standing as an intercessor for the people. One man can't do it by themselves anyway. That's the problem. It's grown too big, too bloated, too many courts, too many judges, too many attorneys, it's overwhelmingly large. If one man works 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and does all the paperwork in the world and submits it to every court in the land, hopefully all it does is wake a few people up, because he's not going to accomplish anything. And I already know it's a futile effort. And I'm doing it right now. In every court, in other words, the Supreme Court, the District Court, the Federal Circuit Courts, the State Court, the Appellate Court, I've got cases in all of them based on Bonnie right now. And more so. I've got it going to the Military Court of Justice. I've got it in the Court of Claims in D.C. That's the District of Columbia, which isn't even our country. I'm putting in all of them at the same time and fighting in each of those courts on her behalf to do one thing: to put it on the public record in every court in the land that there will not be any justice. And we know there won't. I don't expect them to do one thing that's right and righteous, because that's the point in history we've reached. I don't expect them to. So what I'm going to do is show that they're doing everything wrong and show the world. And that's a very dangerous thing for me. That's like climbing out of the foxhole and standing in front of the army, armed with nothing but a pen and a piece of paper. And they're going to shoot bullets. I guarantee it. I want you to know that. If we don't expose this, the nation falls. And in Isaiah 59 it says, God sees that there's no man who's an intercessor for the people, and he stands in the west and he looks towards the east and he destroys evil from the coasts. Now, some versions of the Bible are going to say things a little bit differently. They're going to use the word island. That's a misinterpretation. It's an abomination of the Hebrew language it was written in. From the coasts, and he will destroy every major city. And the Illuminati, they think old Denver, Colorado's up high and it's going to be saved. I promised myself that I would not tell you this right here, sitting here in Florida. For the last 5 months, our plates of the world, of our earth, have been breaking up. The amount of earthquakes, the size of the earthquakes has increased. If you got a 4.0 earthquake and it goes to a 5.0, that's 10 times more powerful, right? Okay, so areas of our earth where we've had lots of earthquakes in the past that were 2s and 3s are now 4s and 5s, and some of them 6s and 7s. So not only they're increasing in the amount of earthquakes over the last 5 months, but they're increasing in size to the effect that we've had more than 10,000 times the effect on the Earth's surface by earthquakes in the last 5 months than we've had in the last 100 years. And the plates are breaking. One of the most solid sections of plates. Now, everybody knows California and its reputation for earthquakes, right? Because it's got some of the biggest fault lines there is. Comes up through the Gulf of California, through between Baja and Mexico, and it comes up San Andreas Fault and so forth. It goes all the way up through San Francisco, kind of goes under the Golden Gate Bridge, goes out to sea a little bit, and then when it hits Southern Oregon, it takes an immediate jog out to sea. Literally a 90-degree angle jog, and you can see it on Google Earth. If you look at the water off the coast of the West Coast on Google Earth, you will see the fault line take an immediate 90-degree turn right on Google Earth. Because the plate of our continental plate, where it goes underneath the Pacific plate, right off the coast of Oregon, has been solidified. And it's been a solid thing that's kept us from moving. And then it goes out to sea and it goes up around Alaska and so forth, right? Around the Pacific Rim, where most of the earthquakes happen, okay? All the way around the Pacific. Well, that solid plate has now fractured. And there's hot water geysers coming up all along, maybe 100 miles off the Oregon coast, 120 miles off the coast. It's been coming along and breaking up. So what's happening is this. Let's try and explain this a little bit. Okay, you have two pool table balls. They're solid. They're hard, right? One hits the other and it moves fast because it's so solid. it moves, and it moves off course. Imagine something hitting the earth, a solid ball hitting the earth, and the earth being solid and having it go clear off course to where it's a catastrophic event. It changes all of our atmosphere and everybody dies. It's an extinction level event. God doesn't want that. He doesn't want us all to die. So if the plates get broken up ahead of time, and now it's not solid anymore, and something hard hits it, it absorbs the impact. And it doesn't get shoved off course. And we don't have an extinction level event. But what if it hits off the coast of Florida into that warm water that's 90 degrees, and it shoves that water up the east coast and up through Greenland and Iceland and into the Hudson Bay, and it's a large wall of water, warm water, and it starts melting all that ice is north, and it shoves the plates. And the Rocky Mountains are there because the plates have been shoved before, and the Rocky Mountains raised up. The country broke in half, and it caused a lot of volcanic activity. Okay? I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to tell you a little science. All right? And something like Yellowstone, that giant caldera of liquid lava that is inside the earth right there, goes off and travels 500 miles to the southeast. Well, Denver's in a little bit of a problem then. So the Illuminati's been thinking Denver's safe and been building all kinds of stuff under the airport and the Denver airport and everything. You know, is this unknown knowledge to any of you? Or did you know this stuff? Okay. All right. This is why the government has spent $800 billion refortifying Cheyenne Mountain, NORAD, in the last decade. Why would they spend that much money? Why would they spend over $1 trillion in the last 10 years with the Army Corps of Engineers to raise all the levees across the heartland in Missouri and all the way up? Why would they do that? They know they can't stop the water, but they can stop the erosion, help cut down the erosion that's going to happen. So that warm water goes up the east coast, goes up north, and it comes through and spills over the Hudson Bay through the Great Lakes, and it washes down the Mississippi, and it cuts the country in half. What if that happened? Just what if? Well, it's going to cause a lot of things. Everything east of the Rocky Mountains, under about 750 feet of elevation, is going to be wiped out. Now, some of that is higher elevation that's just going to drain off, but it could be wiped out. Where's your safe zone? Where is it? The United States Geological Survey has created maps where the safe zones are. The United Nations have been putting an inland port on the mountains above Salt Lake City. An inland port. Why? A shipping port. Why? Because the West Coast takes a dive under the Pacific Plate, and the tallest mountains of California and Oregon become islands in the ocean. The old water line is still there. You can drive down the Interstate 15 through Salt Lake all the way north through into Utah, and you can see the water line on the mountains where it used to be. They say, not me, they say that that's where the water line is going to be. God tells you in the Bible he's going to wipe out all the big cities and destroy all the evil, and he's destroy the corruption of our justice system, because there's no justice on the land. But this is a worldwide event where the population drops by 2/3. See, the cabal is known or tried to tell you by the Georgia Guidestones and many other things that they want the population of the world dropped 90%, with 10% left over to service the 1%. That ain't never going to happen. That's the evil's plan. Where do most of the evil live, guys? Big cities, coastlines, east and west coast. We have prophets in this nation that started 3 religious organizations all about the 1820s. Every one of those have been telling you that this is coming and to move into the rural areas to higher ground and get out of the big cities. And everybody's been ignoring it. Everybody's ignored the prophecies. Oh, they don't know anything. They just don't know. Well, what if every intelligence agency in the world and every agent of government and every government in the world is saying the same thing? What if they issue satellite phones to all of Congress and the Senate for the event that this happens, that's coming soon? What if they've known since 2003 and they put it on their websites and they put it out there in the open for everybody to see and nobody sees it? And they've been doing it for years. What if? What would you think? What if I told you I have at least 5 maps on my iPad from different military and agencies of the world? I've got 5 just from the U.S. What if I told you I have more from other countries, other nations, other militaries that have studied, that have learned, that have seen? Oh yeah, once you see something, it's hard to unsee it. When I was a kid, I didn't believe in aliens at all. In fact, I wouldn't watch Star Trek. I wouldn't watch any of that shit because I believed, as God is, man once was, that he created us in his image. That as God is, man may become. That there's worlds without end, greater than the sands of the ocean. And one day, if we live righteously and learn enough, we could someday hope to be a God of our own world, our own earth. What if? And so you tell me there's something out there that's different than that? Different than God and man and that image of mankind? I grew up as a little kid saying, there ain't no aliens. That stuff doesn't exist. There aren't these weird tall creatures with 3 eyes and, whatever they might look like. No way. That's what I believed. It was almost impossible to convince me otherwise. And now I'm a firm believer because I saw it with my own eyes. Now I look like a crazy conspiracy theorist. Yeah, the definition of conspiracy theory is 6 months. All you need is 6 months of study, 6 months of learning. Yeah, I think it's a lot less than that now. But anyway, you see it with your own eyes when you have photographic evidence, when it's being released by intelligence and by military and by government and by people sitting on a beach in Florida who witnessed a spacecraft in a cloud, and then you could see it through the cloud, and it left, and it's on video by some lady sitting on a beach, and hundreds of people witnessed it and said the same thing, then how do you deny it? Especially if you know one of those people that were on that beach and you believe in them. How do you deny? See, this is what we're up against right now in the last days, this what if. Where we're at right now. What if these things happen? What if it changes? What if it changes overnight? Are you prepared? Why has government been moving out of D.C. and moving most of it to Huntsville, Alabama, and outside of Philadelphia, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and why? You think they know something you don't know? Yeah. Yeah. You ever seen that movie, The Ark Project? Do you know that's real? It's being created. You watched the movie 2012? That was based on the Mayan calendar. They got the date wrong. See, I'm going to tell you something. For no man will know the time and the place of his coming. It's not up for us to know the time and the place. It's up to us to be prepared for it. That's it. That's our responsibility, to be prepared for it. It's not up for us to know the exact time and place. But with knowledge, you can narrow it down to an approximate time and place. Well, I'd be careful in November. I won't be putting any seminars on the coast in November. I'm just telling you. That's a prediction. I don't know the time and the place any more than anyone else does. But I do follow enough information, enough intelligence agencies, enough agencies of government who have been putting this stuff on their website for years, and as I say it on video, they start to take it off real quick. They don't want me panicking the people. But you know what? You know why I tell you this? I don't have to tell you this. I tell you because I love you. And some people are going to say, like some friends of mine in this room, that it's okay. If they're still there and they're still in that area at that time, well then God will either protect them or that's where they were meant to be and they'll perish. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a little more of a survivalist than that. So I like to prepare and not perish. That's my thing. But anyway, how are we doing on time? Where's my Buzz, where's your wife? Damn, she runs everything. Your life for sure. Okay, about 15 more minutes. How about we have a very quick little I answer questions for you session. Because there's a lot of new people here who have so many questions that now you're either going to leave and go home and say he's an idiot, or you're going to start asking for me to prove it.
David. Can you repeat the question?
That was a long one, too. You know, women, you tell them one quick question, and it's two long ones.
Okay, so my questions are, Where
One
can,
one at a time, okay? One question at a time.
where can we find the treaty information where we gave Manhattan and the land along the border to the United Nations?
You know, I'm going to first start off by telling you, like government is, they don't put everything in one place. If it was that easy, I would really appreciate it. Just put everything in a book.
Hence the question. I've been looking and I'm having a little bit of difficulty
I know.
finding it.
I know. You're going to find some in the United Nations agreement where we joined the United Nations. You're going to find some in the discussions that led up to the United Nations
From
agreement.
47? Sorry.
I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
It is here, there, and everywhere. You have to look at clues. All of this is about, if I took a 10,000 piece puzzle box and I dumped it on the table and I threw the box away without looking at the cover, so I didn't know what the puzzle was going to look like, I've had to read so much stuff that I am able to put those pieces together, and then I go, oh, okay, there's what's happening. So I'm trying to tell you, they do not make it easy for us. What I appreciate now is I want to find something, I put it on our Telegram channel. And there's 44 to 45,000 beautiful people who love to research, and they tend to find it. And that's what we all should do. Join those Telegram channels and put our questions there and watch our good people, because we got thousands of them, tens of thousands, go to work. Bobby just gets amazed. I love to watch his face. He's like this little kid in a candy store. He gets a question, he puts it on the Telegram channel, says, hey, find this, and boom, 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 boom. 25 people found it. It's wonderful. There's things that Bobby and I, that I'd read years ago, and I couldn't remember where I read it. I couldn't remember what agency put it out. And I said, I know it's true. I've read it. Where is it? Bobby goes, watch this. And he's sitting on my back porch at our table, and he types it into our Telegram groups, and our Telegram researchers found it in about a minute. And I'm going, holy crap. Because I can't keep all that crap in my brain, all right? I just can't. I got too many things going on and too much to deal with and too many people to deal with. And it's very hard for me to keep storing all that stuff. So once I learn it, I kind of generalize it. I put it into a little book in my brain, and I just start spewing it out of my mouth like a deck of cards. But that question you will be able to find. Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York, they came to him, and he was doing a press conference, and they came to him and they said, can you do something about all these unpaid traffic tickets by all these people in Manhattan? They owe the city millions and millions of dollars. So the city treasurers and administrators and whoever was running the books came to him and asked him that, and he answered it at a press conference. And he says, I can't do anything about that. I'm just the mayor of New York. That's what he said. He has no control over Manhattan Island as a mayor of New York because it's owned by the United Nations, just like the Atlanta, Georgia airport is. People don't know this crap. People don't know there's a building in downtown Salt Lake where if you, as a citizen of Salt Lake in Utah, walked in the building, they'd escort you out under armed United Nations guards. Do you understand this stuff is going on all around us and we don't see it? I got a guy who does graphic arts, and he does those things on cars where they put plastic on it, you know, change wraps. Okay, thank you. Wraps, and they put graphics on cars. His company got hired to go into these giant warehouses and put UN logos on all these white armored vehicles all across the country. There are those warehouses, multiples in every state in the United States, and his company, under a non-disclosure agreement, that's why I'm not saying the name of his company or who he is, got hired to go take these painted vehicles and put the UN stuff on them all across this nation. We are losing this country. This is my country. I was born here and I don't want to lose it. Hold on a minute. All right, next question.
Second question
You're-
is, can you talk more about what you were researching when you went to the Vatican?
No. But I will say a few things, okay? I can't tell you what I was there for, what the purpose was, because I'm under an NDA for that, okay? You got to be afraid sometimes of the people you work for, all right? I'm just going to tell you that. But I did see something that was very amazing to me. It was a Bible the size of this table. And it had 777 books in it. How many does our Bible have? 66. Now, I learned something also while I was there. And this was more than 20 plus years ago. Way more. But I learned something else. I learned that there was another Bible written for King James. A Bible where they didn't take as much out. A Bible with verses that had both what is put in our standard version of the King James from that time and the words that it really said. And so you'll read a verse and it'll give you both. And it goes along with one line and then all of a sudden it's bracketed and there's two lines. And then it's bracketed and then it goes on with the verse. Because it shows you what it used to say and it shows you what it says in the King James Version. Okay? Well, let me finish. Also, it's called the King of Kings version of the Bible. Don't worry, it took me 20 years to find one and acquire it. 20 years. Because it's only written for kings and queens. And mine's got a little special inscription in the front of who it was written for. Tressa? Has been reading it a little bit. I've let her look at it. And I keep it in my house, and she got to read it, a little bit of it. No. And it has the 400 years of history in it between the Old and the New Testament. And that 400 years is pretty precious. See? Those are little things, advantages that I have because of what I've learned in the past that I've spent a lot of time, work, and effort to acquire. And it's a beautiful book, and it's all got gold leaf and many, 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 many beautiful illustrations, and it's pretty thick and heavy. Feels like a big chunk of gold, and to me it is. And I could have bought another car for what that Bible cost me to acquire, okay? So it's very precious to me. But it gives me a lot of knowledge that people don't have because we weren't given everything. And even the kings weren't given everything. And I want you to understand it like this. I believe with all my heart and with all my soul and with all my being that if we would have had all 777 books, we would not be tried, tested, and forged by fire and not learn the lessons that we need to learn in this world for maybe the next one. We wouldn't learn. I believe God did not allow them to translate it all for us. I believe that. I believe that things were changed in it so that we don't know everything. Because we wouldn't be striving to learn. We'd just sit there and read one book, 777 books long, and we'd study that for maybe 10 or 12 years like we went to grade school and high school, and then we'd all be perfect, and our lives would be easy. And we would have a utopia on earth if we had all of God's Word to tell us what to do and how to do it and how to live the way we should be living to return to Him. And I believe that's what would have happened. So I believe we were kept from that so that we would have trials and tribulations in our life. And that we would have more temptation and more sin and the ability to get on our knees and repent for that sin and be forgiven. See, I also believe Jesus Christ never would have been crucified had the king of Rome not had a son that was killed in battle and not had a grandson that fell off a horse, hit his head on a rock, and died. Because Rome was very righteous up to that point. And then it was turned over to who? The Senate and Congress of Rome, who destroyed Rome, and it became very evil. See? Just like we've turned our nation over to Congress and the Senate. And it has become very evil. Exactly right. Gene? Grab a mic.
Check one.
How are we going? Got it? Okay, sir. I'd like to ask a question. If anybody in this room has an answer for it, I haven't understood that answer if there is one. I'd like to find out why. Why in the United States do we have to deal with the Congress and the Senate going on and on and on without term limits? That's what I want to know, because I think the corruption that we have to deal with, a lot of the percentage of it could be eliminated if we had 4 to 6 or to 8 years of time. Like, I can understand the presidency of being 8 years, but I cannot understand the people that run this country supposedly with fairness and justice through the Senate and the Congress, if they are righteous-minded people, and most of them, in my opinion, are not. So consequently, to get rid of the unrighteousness, all we have to do is get term limits and give them a point of opportunity to prove who they are, do right for justice, and do right for the American people, and do all the things that we would hope they would do while we put them there. We're the ones that put them in place. It's true, we can vote them out, but how about the so-called current president who spent 48 years in Congress and never done one damn thing? So explain to me, why do we have to deal with a format of dealing with a unlimited time for people to go to Washington and tell us what the hell to do when most of them are criminals anyways, and we can see that.
Okay.
So why can't we get rid of them?
Let me answer. All right, I'm going to use a couple of examples. I love to pick on California. It's really fun for me. I was born there, so I like to pick on California. California has a long-term history of electing really awful women to Congress and the Senate. Okay, anybody agree with me on that? Barbara Boxer, Feinstein, Pelosi, on and on and on. Really awful women who have been there a long time. Okay? We have no, and when you say term limits, first of all, they're re-elected every so often, and that's a term limit. However, we don't have a final term limit, which means, okay, you can only be president twice, right? 8 years total, 4 and 4. Okay? Those guys can be elected over and over and over again, and I agree with you on that. They should have limits. Well, hold on. You're right, but you're right, but let me tell you why it happens. I'm going to just use Nancy Pelosi, Feinstein, and Barbara Boxer as examples. Okay, you take the state of California. Yeah, that's my version. San Francisco, Sacramento, the Bay Area, San Jose, Sacramento, San Francisco. 3 big S's. Okay? You got Los Angeles down here. All those bad people come from one of those 2 areas. They've never had a bad congressman or a bad senator that's been elected from here up. They've never had one that's elected from here to here. They're all elected there and there, the biggest cities, the biggest areas. Now here's the reason. One of them, let's just pick one, the big P. I'd like to turn it into a B, but the big P, her district, San Francisco, she runs, she wins. She wins because of her money, her power, and influence in a very small area. She gets into office. She benefits that area with lots of money, federal funding, federal crap, and does it with such power and influence created in that little square that she runs unopposed every single time. No one can compete with her in that area ever again out of fear of greed, money. That's what it's all about. She gives people so much money, those businesses in her area, so many contracts, so much power, so much lobbying dollars come from there to lobby, to create laws, to do. She uses that area to manipulate the entire country. And that whole Silicon Valley area manipulates the whole country. Gavin Newsom runs that area and runs California, and he's related to Nancy. They're related to the Gettys. There's 3 families that are basically run all of California for 60 plus years. The last 60 years, I'm going to use 60. I know it's longer. 60 years they've controlled everything in the whole state and how much money goes into that state. One of the wealthiest, most popular states there is. This area grows 1/3 of all the fruits and vegetables that feed this country. The largest farmland, Central Valley Farmers Association. I put on seminars for the Central Valley Farmers Association. Good one, you guys. All right, who controlled that? Do you know who was the attorney for the Central Valley Farmers Association back in 2012 when I put on a big seminar for them? And not this kind of a seminar, by the way. I have other talents and patents and degrees on hydroponics and farming and how to raise cattle properly. And yeah, I used to do that for universities and put on seminars. Okay, but who runs that? Who ran that then? Kamala Harris was the attorney for the Central Valley Farmers Association that called me on the phone in 2012 and said, hey, come put on a seminar in Gilroy, California for the Central Valley Farmers Association. She flies me at her, not her, I'm sure she didn't put a dime out of her pocket, at the state of California's expense, down there to San Francisco. I jump in a rental car, the San Francisco airport. I'm driving down the freeway through Silicon Valley, headed to where I'm supposed to go. And she says, we have too many people. We've outgrown the venue. Meet us here. And she gave me another venue. Turned out it was a high school gymnasium. I mean, the school gymnasium where I went to kindergarten. And I put on the same seminar for Kamala Harris. There's my personal story with Kamala. And you just got part of it. It got way worse towards the end of the day.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I'd raised my hand earlier and had a question.